Okay, balik po tayo. You know, I'd like to read to you a portion of the paper ng ating Department of Foreign Affairs. Kasi ang question dito is, dalawa ang issue eh. Yung mga bato na kuminsan lumulubog pag high tide, yung mga bato ng Scarborough Shoal, at tapos yung tubigan o yung karagatan na paligid sa Scarborough Shoal. Ang sovereignty and jurisdiction is gained because acts of sovereignty are exercised over dun sa mga bato at lupang lumalabas. Has the Philippines done that or has China done it? China has done nothing. So matter of fact, nagtatag tayo doon ng mga ating bandila, nagtatag tayo doon ng ating lighthouse. Kanya lang, ngayon hindi nag-ooperate yung lighthouse. Tapos yung Scarborough Shoal, ginagamit yan dati nung nandito pa ang mga American forces as an impact range for war exercises. No? In addition to which, as late as 1997, si Congressman Roquito Oblan and Hosea planted the flag again doon sa Scarborough Shoal. So dito natin nakikita na wala namang ginagawa. Kumot din drawing mo yan 400 years ago, however long, pero wala ka namang acts of sovereignty and jurisdiction that you have exercised over the place. You cannot claim, the drawing of a map does not entitle you to claim sovereignty and jurisdiction. Ngayon, yun namang katubigan na paligid, yun naman under the UNCLOS yun, yung 200-mile exclusive economic zone ng anumang bansa dun sa katubigang bumibilog dun sa archipelago. And that is and Scarborough Shoal is within the 200 miles.
Of course.
Di ba? Okay, so dito natin nakikita po na from what we see, China has, other than fishing in the area, they have not really exercised any act of sovereignty or jurisdiction over the Scarborough Shoal. So the question of whether the fact that there is a map from whatever century does not mean that they have already the historical claim has any validity and confers jurisdiction. In fact, in Palmas Islands, Katito, na dinisign niya ng United Nations sa UNCLOS, that was discovered by Spain, claimed by America, eventually ended up with the Netherlands. Because it was the Netherlands who was exercising sovereignty and jurisdiction over the island. So hindi po, so meron tayo pong talagang precedent dito to say na it's the country that exercises sovereignty and jurisdiction over the island that has a first claim in terms of yung mga bato na lumalabas dyan. Hindi naman malaki yan. I think it's about 150 square miles lang. Yun lang. Maliit na parang isla. It's even part of the continental shelf of the Philippines.
Yes.
Okay. So, ang tingin mo dito, Katito, what's the next step?
Well, the next step is at least we are not yet shooting each other.
We give thanks for that. Huh?
Therefore, we should talk.
Talk, not shoot.
Talk, not shoot. And sincerely trying to find an equitable solution to all of this.
Would you want our Coast Guard to withdraw from the area unilaterally?
No, because that's not consistent with our position. But at the same time, we should show to the Chinese that this is there are many other things, and this should not end up in a quarrel because there are other solutions to this problem.
You think they're trying to send a message to the other Southeast Asian nations?
Possibly, but they have had shooting wars already with Vietnam.
Well, they've gone, nag-away sila ng Vietnam tungkol din sa same thing na ito, no?
Vietnam and
Malaysia?
Even Taiwan.
Even Taiwan. Taiwan also claims it, and this is the strange part of it, no? All right, 0915-8166-8731. Nga pala po, kung magte-text kayo, pakibigay naman po ang pangalan ninyo at kung nasaan kayong bahagi ng Pilipinas or for our just research records. China's actuations reflects its concerns on America's presence in Southeast Asia rather than a concern on claims of territories. I may be mistaken, but it's the way I read it. So, ayon ka ba? Do you think it's a message to America or more primarily a message to us and the rest of Southeast Asia?
Well, I don't think that at this stage, with all the problems that America has, that it would intervene.
So sa tingin mo talaga, Katito, hindi tutulong dito ang Amerika? Except maybe diplomatically.
Diplomatically,
To restrain them.
yes. And I think the United States can help us in supporting the facts of sovereignty and jurisdiction during the time when they were here.
But I think their lack of interest in what's going on here is probably reflective of their own weakened condition.
Well,
Na ika nga the American public has lost the appetite for war.
that's
no?
right.
Not like when Bush was president when they attacked Iraq, no? So the question here is, will the American public accept any kind of military interventionism of America here in Southeast Asia? There are many logistical problems that will have to be solved, no? Paano ka, kung ikaw ay makikialam dito at nagkaputukan, ano ngayon ang gagawin mo? Saan ka kukuha ng supplies mo? It's a huge monster of a problem.
Yes.
Diba?
And they still want presence here.
Oo.
Because
Well, Obama has made those statements. President Obama has made those statements, Katito, that the U.S. will not be driven out of Southeast Asia and will want to strengthen their presence here. But whether in practical terms, maybe the Chinese indeed are trying to test the resolve of America.
correct. Could be.
Pwede rin kaya yun.
Could.
Alright, from 0917-605-5739. Kapag naangkin nila ang isla, madali na sila makakuha pa ng isa pa sa mga darating na panahon. Anong magagawa ng Kongreso at Senado? Well, graduate of the Senate. Ano kaya ang magagawa ng Kongreso at Senado? Conduct a hearing.
We can conduct a hearing on that.
Anong magagawa nun?
Well, it can solidify
Oo.
the military without revealing strategies and the civilians and the other sectors who do not know, and the Filipino-Chinese, because we look at the Chinese people here as our brothers. During the Spanish times, they also suffered with us. During the Japanese times, maraming guerrilla rin ang tumulong sa atin. At dahil sila ay nakakabasa ng Japanese writings, maganda sang intelligence work kung saan, anong ginagawa, alin ang dapat atakihin.
Sa tingin mo ba, Katito, itong ginagawa nila ngayon sa Scarborough, may kinalaman sa rest of the Spratlys? Para bang nagte-testing siya dito kung ano magiging outcome sa pag-aangkin nila nitong Scarborough Shoal? Kasi pag naangkin nila ito, yun, tutuloy na siguro yun sa Spratlys at aangkinin lahat yun. At ngayong gunboat diplomacy na and Air Force ang gagamitin.
Yes, and I think that is... we should do everything in our power to convince them that talking is, to good neighbors, still the best policy rather than letting the guns go.
Okay, from 0922-848-9150. Good evening to you, Ray and Katito. I'm in the opinion that our government's stand on quiet diplomacy would only be interpreted by the PROC as weakness on our part. It's high time that the USA and other allied countries make a stand in preventing unwanted aggression and bullying by big nations against small countries like us. Bagay may katotohanan doon. Why is Europe not speaking up? Why is America not speaking up? Not trying to support us politically at least. Maybe they feel, do you think they are not talking because if they say something, it might inflame it more?
Well, first of all, I think they have problems of their own, economic problems. Secondly, they may have relationships with China, business relationships. Like
That they don't want to endanger. Okay. Alright, so dito natin nakikita na Alam mo, sabi nila, wala naman talagang interest ang manumang banda, kundi self-interest. So, I guess they will have to judge. Each nation will have to judge it, especially America and Europe. Ano ang at risk in that relationship kung sila manghihimasok dito sa atin? Kung sila'y makikialam, kung sila'y tutulong, kung sila'y kikibo. And sometimes, many of these diplomats feel that silence is the best position in order not to inflame the situation. Kanya lang, kung ang kalaban mo isang higante at ikaw yung maliit, eh, kuminsan parang nakakalungkot. Mag-iisa ka ngayon tatayo doon, and everybody expects you to stand up to the giant. Abay, mahirap na tugtugin yon. Ang tanong nga dito, kaya ba ng Pilipino ito? Yun ang pinakamalaking tanong, no? Kasi kung hindi naman tatayo ang Pilipino, eh, paano pa tayo?
With all our resources, which are nothing compared to theirs, we should have bigger spirit and fiercer courage.
We need heroes like you and fighters like you, Katito.
Thank you.
Ha? Para medyo masiglaan at mabigyan ng konting tapang. Hindi naman sa naghahanap tayo ng gulo. Pero manindigan tayo sa prinsipyo at saka sabihin natin, hindi, ito talaga ang kailangan. 0906-851-0492. Pakipadala po mga pangalan nyo at inyong mga kinalalagyan. It only shows the effect of corruption. We cannot defend our sovereignty against foreign invaders. Alam po ninyo, totoo yun na hindi natin kayang depensahan ang sarili natin. Kasi naman napakalaki ng China at napakalawak ng kanilang armed forces at saka technology and planes. They even have nuclear weapons.
But
kaya ba natin?
if it is a just war, it is worth dying for, I think, the Filipinos.
Sabi, yun ang ating sinasabi sa ating pambansang awit eh. Di ba? Kasama yun doon. From 0908-872-3035. What if dumating yung war scenario, pinaalas yung boat natin by force? Sa tingin nyo po ba, tutulungan tayo ng US? Eh siguro yun ang pinagtatalunan natin, Katito, no? Hindi tayo sigurado?
Well, it is within the old defense treaty, mutual defense treaty between the Philippines. But I have always been skeptical about that because
It's not a full-scale attack on the Philippines, on
Yeah.
our shores. No?
Yes.
It's only on a few rocks out there, 100 miles from the coast of Zambales.
And when they were here occupying bases, they all said, Sabah, for example, it's not in our sphere of territorial rights to go in defense of the Philippines. So now, during the basis agreement, I think that was also brought up about the Spratlys.
It's not, in other words, the Americans will say it is not really material
Yes,
to Philippine interest.
because the treaty, according to them, strict reading is only if it affects the territory of the Philippines or the territory of the United States.
Okay, meron tayo dito magandang impormasyon na sinasabi from 0915-348-9025. Good evening. San Nicolas Shoal is the British Armada in 1762. I'm not sure what that means. 4,327 islands have no names. Only 2,773 have names. Ito kaya ang dahilan ng insistence ng China?
I don't know.
Hindi natin po masagot, no, kasi ang sinasabi nila kasi na-drawing na raw yung tubigan na yan. Wala na, matagal na, wala pang maliit pa lang ang British Commonwealth, no?
But as you said before, discovery is not
The basis
The
for
basis,
sovereignty or
yeah,
jurisdiction.
only. It has to be discovery plus
Acts of jurisdiction.
acts of jurisdiction.
And we have complied with that as far as Scarborough Shoal is concerned. Ginamit nating practice range yan. Nagtayo tayo ng lighthouse.
That's right.
Nagtatag tayo ng ating bandila. Hindi lang minsan, hindi ilang beses.
And help our fishermen who always often fished.
Doon sa mga karagatang yon. Okay, so dito natin po nakikita na our claim to the Scarborough Shoal is not just based on proximity to the Philippines.
Ah.
Kung hindi yung ating sovereignty and jurisdiction, yung mga gawain natin, the acts of sovereignty and jurisdiction, what we have exercised there over the last 50 years. Actually, since 1950s.
It's a prolongation of the mainland.
Oo.
So if this desk, for example, the prolongation is the foot or the base.
In other words, yung continental shelf ng Pilipinas na gumaganon, bahagi pa rin ng
Bahagi
ating
pa
yun.
rin.
Kanya yung mga batong nandyan, which are basically just coral reefs to begin with, are considered part of the Philippines. From 0906-175-0658. From Balabac Island, good evening po. Noong si Corona impeachment trial, matatapang ang mga senador. Now, dapat nila ipakita kung paano nila magawaan ng solusyon. Thank you po. Do you really think we should hear from the Senate about this?
Well, yes, because they are part of our nation's institution, and I think they are just as concerned. They should do what they can to consolidate us.
Alam mo kasi, Katito, in the American tradition of democracy, foreign policy is almost exclusively the prerogative of the president. Kanya siguro walang ganong nagsasalita dito because ganun din. No? Lalo-lalo na dito, I think many of the senators are trying to be very careful also na hindi nila sinisilaban yung sitwasyon. They are not trying to be provocative and doing a grandstand play for the sake of the re-election in 2013. Di ba? This is where personal interest has got to be subordinated to the good of the nation.
Yes.
At kikilos lang sila dapat sa paraan na, that rationable at maayos at responsable. Kasi napakalaki po ng nakataya dito. At pagka nagkaroon ng digmaan dito, ay baka sila, tayong maapektuhan, ay sila makakatakbo. Pero yung mga nandito na nakatira dito, saan pupunta? Diba? From 0917-055-5739. Ang roots ni Pinoy galing China. Dapat gamitin niya yun para humupa ang tensyon.
Yes.
You know, when Cory was president, the mother of Pinoy, she went to China to pay homage to her roots. Di ba?
Yeah.
She went to the village where the Kuwangkos originated.
Yes.
So, and I don't think China ever forgot that.
And there are so many Filipinos with Chinese blood.
Oo. Napakahirap namang humanap ng Pilipinong walang dugong inchik eh. From 0926-508-7406. Please comment. The silence of Senate on the issue. Thanks. Failma. Jones Isabela. Ako, galing pa sa Isabela itong tumawag sa atin dito. Katito.
Well,
If you were in the Senate, would you speak about it?
Well, of course. I'll speak about it.
Kanya minsan nalulungkot po ako na medyo natahimik na ang boses ni Katito rito eh.
Anyway, I think they're preoccupied with the impeachment. But now that the issue has been focused on these islands, I think they will start to speak up.
Well, let's hope that our Senate will begin to have their voices heard. Somehow, or at least exercise maybe even quiet diplomacy through the ambassador of China or even private visits. I saw in the paper that the lady congressman wanted to go to China and romance the Chinese leadership regarding this issue. I don't know what the comment you would have on that, Katito. You think it's going to work?
Well, as long as they go there with the truth, the sincerity, they're beautiful.
The women want to be able to show they're better than the men at foreign policy and diplomacy, you know?
Well,
remains to be seen, I guess.
It remains to be seen. The Secretary of State in the U.S. is a lady.
Oo, si Hillary Clinton, no? Si Secretary of State. From 0909-110-2276. This is very interesting. Sabi niya, kung ibigay na lang natin yung isla.
That's part of the Philippines. Prolongation, continental shelf.
Baka naman ang kinin na rin nila ang Palawan. Kasi alam po ninyo, maraming manadiscover sa Palawan na Chinese pottery, ano yun, sasabihin nila, hindi, matagal na kaming nandyan eh. Dahil sa amin na rin ang Palawan. Eh, napakahirap naman ata nun. From 0922-848-9150. This is where we can try the wits of the good, grandstanding Senator Santiago, who will be sitting in the International Court of Justice. The message is not moving up, so I cannot possibly, hanggang doon lang pala, no? Well, maybe you should send a text to her para ganun sa ganung paraan po, makapagsalita si Senator Miriam. No? Kanya lang siguro, ito, ang problema dito, yung pagsasalita, I am sure that China does not want to be embarrassed publicly. And they would prefer quiet discussions without getting vociferous. Okay? So ito naman mula sa 935-139-5241. Girahin na natin yung China. Marami naman tayong MNLF, MILF at NPA at Abu Sayyaf. Mabibigyan sila ng pagkakataong mamaril ng iba. Ala, sige, yung susunod. Kanya lang, baka maipit tayo sa dalawa. Lalabanan natin ang China, tapos titirahin tayo ng MNLF dyan at saka ng NPA. Kawawa naman ng Pilipinas. Di ba? Parang hindi ata maganda, palabiro ata yung suggestion ng ating kapatid dito. Naggirahin na natin ang China. Ay alam po ninyo, bawat isang barilat na pumuputok dyan, merong mapipinsala at merong mamamatay. Kawawa naman at yung mamamatay, merong pamilya rin yun. May asawa marahil, may mga kapatid, may mga anak. Ayaw naman nating mapuksa at masaktan yung ating mga kababayan. But tell me, in your most optimistic, how do you see this whole thing ending, Katito?
Well, I believe that by talking to them sincerely and from the heart, as well as laying out the facts and showing that violence and war is not the solution here, I believe that in the long run we can find the right solution.
Also prayers, I guess. We have to bring this issue before the Lord. 0906-248-8950, George of Baguio City. Ganun lang ba yun? I-drawing mo lang ang bagay na di sa'yo, pwede mo nang angkinin. Mahiya naman ang mga Chino. Well, what we're going to point out simply yung kahinaan ng kaso nila na komot din drawing nila at binigyan ng pangalan ay sa kanila na. Kanya lang, sabi nga nila dito, possession is 90% of the law when it comes to real estate. Di ba? So dito ang question, sino ba ang nag-exercise ng sovereignty and jurisdiction? At yan malinaw, walang maaaring itutol dyan ng mga in-check that we have been exercising. Of course, they can come back and say, hindi, pinayagan lang namin kayo. Pero sandali lang yan. Ngayon, inaangkin na namin. Umalis na kayo. Basically, that's what they're saying. Well, let's hope that this issue does not degenerate into a shooting war. I think it would be actually very unfitting for China to try to exercise military muscle on such an issue as this, except that I think what they're trying to do is intimidate the rest of Southeast Asia possibly. Ay, tingnan natin. From 390-668-95777. Salam, why don't the Philippine Republic recognize the Sultanate of Sulu and North Borneo? Now you have a big problem in Scarborough Shoal, no solution. Sultanate have solutions. Raja Awis of Bull, ay hindi ko alam kung ano yun. Of, Bulacan. Okay. So, well, I think the government is still trying to solve the problem in Mindanao, and let's hope that that can be solved. Ay, nabusan na po tayo ng panahon. I hope we've given you something na pwede nyo pag-isipan, pag nilay-nilayan ninyo, at tingnan ninyo kung saan ba talaga dapat lumagay ang Pilipino. I think we are all in favor, fundamentally, of trying to look for a diplomatic, talking solution rather than a shooting barilan. At wala pong makikinabang sa barilan. Iisa lang yung ating battleship yan, baka mabilis malunod yan at lumubog. Pagka tinamaan ng isang missile yan, di tapos na. Ay di ano pa ang pagmamalaki natin? Wala tayong natin ang pangdigmang vessel, no? Kanya siguro mabuti pang inalis na yun kasi magkaroon ng aksidente at naka-fire doon. Ay di, wala na, tapos na ang gera. Wala na tayong magagawa. So let's try to talk about it na lang. So, Katito, salamat sa paipagdalo. But I have one question for you.
Sure.
Pag sinabi sa iyo, tulong ka ba rito, Tito, to help bridge and
All the
become
time.
a talker?
All
Payag
the
ka. Areglado. Salamat po sa inyong pagtangkilik sa gabing ito. We will see you next week and God bless you.
Okay.
Huling ka ng aso. Lahat ng tinanos ko.
Hindi nire-release naman ng pork barrel ko. So useless naman.
Yung mga patay, papabigyan ko ng 5,000 from my... So,
Marami
hindi ko
na
hawak.
nagsasabi na
Hindi. Dahil baka kunyari, lahat ng madi-dismiss, mga hostage na lang para ma-reinstate.